A 4-year-old called in as running away or walking off her property, never seen again. A 55-year-old woman out with her husband on a dinghy falls overboard, never seen again. An 84-year-old grandmother goes out to dinner and game night with family, dropped off at home, and never seen again. What do all three of these cases have in common? They're presumed dead, yet all three are still missing. We have the case of Javeayah Harris out of Aiken, South Carolina, a 4-year-old nonverbal autistic child that disappeared, and we're learning a lot of new information from the mom and father potentially murdering this child months ago or weeks ago. We have a husband that has disappeared from the Bahamas, hiding in plain sight while the investigation into the missing wife is still ongoing, with the Coast Guard capturing their vessel. And of course, an 84-year-old grandmother ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman, never seen again. I'm Bullhorn Betty. This is the Bullhorn Betty channel. Let's get into it, guys. Good morning.
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
So grab your cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, get cozy, and let's have some good conversations about these twisted cases.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turbo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take red justice.
What day is it? What day is it? It's hump day. It's hump day. Good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We got the show, guys. So many of you guys know that I went to DC, and on my way to DC, I decided I'm going to go to a halfway point and cover a case. I didn't know really what case I was prepared to cover. I knew that whatever case it was going to be a newly active case, but there's cases going all over this country because this is America, and We have a lot of Americans that like to hurt other Americans, and for a variety of reasons, whether they're, in a relationship with them, just don't like them, whatever the case may be, stole money, whatever the reason that these people show up on our show. But this case is quite different, because when I got out there to cover Elena Moore, I got a call or a text from one of my mods saying, hey, we have this little girl that's in Aiken, South Carolina that's missing. And so I decided, okay, well, we have an active missing child versus a lady that we already know is deceased and where she is. So naturally, I'm going to be bringing awareness to the active case, right? And especially if it's a child, we're going to be bringing an all hands on deck type of, scenario. So I'm going to jump right on in here and let you guys see the original video that we had. Did I not put it on here? Did I put it on here? I did put it on here, didn't I? Yes, I did. So here's kind of breaking into it. We're not going to spend too much time on this particular video, because we got a lot to discuss, because after I went out there, I was in DC, and then I came back to having to update on, Nancy Guthrie, because that's the case that we are predominantly discussing. Nancy Guthrie and Lynette Hooker are our main cases on this show right now. So we've gotten away from Javeayah Harris, even though there's been a lot of stuff that has changed. So I want to give you guys an update on this precious baby. She's no longer with us, so say a prayer for her. But you know what? I look at these cases and these young children, and I just keep thinking, what kind of life were they living anyways? Not that I ever want any child to be deceased, but at the end of the day, I try to find some silver lining to reconcile, the pain. And the only thing I can ever really reconcile in these types of cases is at least this child's not struggling anymore, because I guarantee we had no idea what this child was living through. And this child was probably living through a lot and couldn't even vocalize. It's just sad. And it tears at the fabric of your humanity when you hear cases like this, and you find out this child was nonverbal, and it does make you wonder, with her being deceased, was she really autistic to begin with, or was she abused as a child to the point where she had the appearance of being autistic? I ask those questions. I think it's important this day and age that we start asking these questions, because I'm getting so sick of pulling babies out of ponds and them telling us that, oh, this child just walked out. I mean, every parent here, we've got a lot of parents, especially with the Sebastian Rogers case. We attracted a lot of parents that have autistic children, grandparents that have autistic children. And listen, they put things in place to keep their child in the house. When their child is an eloper, they have contingencies all around the house to keep that child in. So for us to hear that a child's gotten out, and a child's gotten out again, and a child's gotten out again, and now all of a sudden the child's in a pond, well, we've got to question that. We've got to question, why is this child always running away from home? Now, do children of autistic nature do have a tendency of wandering? We absolutely know that. We have some parents in our audience that have elopers in their family, either whether it's their child, their grandchild, or a distant relative. Parents lied. There's a video of her speaking. I've got a lot of stuff here. We even have the 911 call. We're going to play everything for you guys. We've got a good show, a good lineup here.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We have a new phone. So I can turn it around.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to laugh or anything, but I forgot that the HE double hockey sticks we went through on the very first case, Elena Moore. I pull up to the very first location. I'm up there. I'm recording. I got my microphone set up. I'm recording, and a gust of wind happens to grab the phone and knock the phone to the ground, broke the phone. A guy's walking out. He's like, oh, that sucks. I'm like, don't worry. I have another phone, which I did. It was my Apple phone. But it goes crashing to the ground, and then we had to buy a new phone. So this is the first morning that I have a new phone. We have a new case, and I'm just trying to get live. I forgot about that. So
boop, 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 boop. Look at that. And it has a pretty good camera.
Decent. It's okay.
I went ahead and bought me a bigger, more
sturdy,
more secure, tripod,
which sucks because let me get past this. I forgot all this was happening that morning. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here
this morning, and basically told me we have a Can you guys hear me? Just to make sure we can hear. Let's live chat. Good morning. Just give me a thumbs up saying you guys can hear me.
You don't need to do that. Perfect. I know you guys can hear me.
I don't know how you guys are hearing me, but everything's kind of good. This is a cheap phone, like a 40. I think I spent like $40 for it. And I'm like, I can record from, the Samsung that I brought. Okay. It's a phone.
Okay, Andrea.
Image. We're going to the place that we're going. There's a missing child that's in Aiken, South Carolina, and that's 45 minutes away from my location. So we're going to go out there. I've got my press badge on. We're going to go out there and check out the scene. It's sad. I don't know if we're going to be able to help or not, to be honest with you, because they're not asking for searchers right now. So we're probably just going to be in the staging area.
I was not prepared for searching. I'll tell you, I did not have any boots. I did not have my snake boots. I'm not going out in the type of woods that are out there without being protected. There was once upon a time I would go out there, but now that we have all this, protective layer crap that we've purchased and invested in on the show to keep me from getting snake bitten and God knows what else out there, I just don't think I'm going out there without the proper gear.
Where media is, and we don't want to interfere in any type of media, any type of investigation. So we're going to, here we go, 45 minutes. We're going on a road trip, folks.
Exit the parking lot toward Rockland Road.
We didn't have, now that you guys know, that's kind of how we started this whole case, right? So I get a call from my mod. We hear that there's a 4-year-old child that's missing. And there's no Amber Alert on this child. I got no notification for this child. I just happened to have a mod that came across this child. I don't know if there was an endangered missing child for this child or what, but I just didn't see it. Now, if there were things, I just didn't see it. So we decided to go ahead and embark on over to this area to see this child. There was no preconceived notions that the parents were involved. I had no information on the parents involved. My mods didn't fill me in with their opinions of the case. We just went out there and we notated the unusualness of this particular case, predominantly my car being searched. Okay, I've been at a lot of missing children cases, and I've never had my car searched, okay? Active missing children cases, including Audrey Cunningham. When we rolled into Texas, the plane barely even got on the tarmac before we were getting an Amber Alert for Audrey Cunningham. And we were going to do some border work down there, a documentary on the border. And then Olivia and I decided to travel, I think it was 2 or 3 hours out of our way, and go over to the area where Audrey Cunningham was before we went over to Eagle Pass. Never had my car searched. Never had my car searched with Summer Wells. Never had my car searched with any other missing child case, including J.J. Rollins. J.J. Rollins, a little boy. Betty, you have a heart of gold. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have a heart of gold, but a mouth, I don't know what you call the mouth. I do. My heart is very tender for children and victims of crime. They're very, very, very tender for children and victims of crime. But long story short, we went out there just to see what we could do. They had us corralled in a staging area. They would not let, you're kind of there. They would let you drive around, but they ain't letting you get out of the car, even though you could probably get out of the car. They really can't stop you. But in a case like this, you don't want to push, be pushy. They're trying to find a child. You're trying to report on it, right? You're trying to get as much information out there as possible. This is a all hands on deck and everybody work together for the benefit of a child type of situation, right? So we didn't have a lot of information, but I can tell you driving out there, my heart sank because the drive out there, I'm going to show this to you and get to that part of it. When we get out there, okay, so there I am. Let's go for some of the ride. Okay, here we go. When you get out there, you see that it really is a rural area. Let me put this back up.
Active material.
It really is a rural area.
Is there toxic crap around here too?
Let me do that. Let me take that off. So as you can see, this is the area behind you. You guys see a very thick dense forest-like area, and this is the way it was all the way to her house. Okay, so I was very, very, very concerned just going into this case. If she truly was an autistic child that was nonverbal, trying to find her in this, I had already, when I left this area, I knew she was going to be found dead. But it wasn't because I thought her parents had done something to her. I didn't get an inclination that the parents were really, well, I shouldn't say that. As I was driving home and talking to Karen, I realized that there was something hinky with the parents. But I started looking into it, but nothing really to fruition. But then the husband or the father decides to do this interview. In his interview, within I don't even think I listened to it for 5 seconds. I don't even think I heard the first sentence. I heard how he talked, and I knew immediately this child was dead. I knew immediately that this child was dead, and these parents, this is, to a trained ear and eye, this is how, you just know. But you guys are seeing what we're looking at here. If she really did wander off, the outcome, in my opinion, may have been exactly the same, because there was so much dense foliage. There's lakes, there's streams, there's coyotes, there's rattlesnakes. There's a whole host of things out there in that dense forestry that would have wreaked havoc on a little girl that was 4 years old that couldn't even, call for help, right? She can't speak. Can she make noises? I'm sure she can, but would it be drowned out by the forest? It could very well be, because it could sound like an animal, in all fairness. I'm not trying to be offensive in any way, but, just like Nancy Guthrie's case, when that first night that everybody was out there and they were out there a little late and you could hear the coyotes in the background, you heard those coyotes screaming. They sounded like screams. How is a little 84-year-old lady, anybody going to hear her screams over the coyotes? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So I was looking at all those factors, and then we find out, this is going to be the devastating news. We're finding out, and we're going to walk you guys through all of this so you have all the information, but we found out that either the mom or the father, it sounds like the mom lost her stuff and injured this child beyond whatever, to death. And they kept her in the house for a little while, trying to figure out what to do with her. So I heard just recently that they're out in the wooded area behind their house. We were aware that somebody had already confessed, and that they were working with law enforcement. The child's gone, She has, if I'm not mistaken, she was pregnant or just had other children. So, again, let's get into the factual information of this. I'm going to first start out with the 911 call of the mother as she reports her daughter missing. So this is going to be quite interesting. This is the mom, a mother that has ruined her entire life. She was young, too. A little too young.
Aiken County 911, where's your emergency?
Ma'am, I'm at... I can't find my baby. Yes, ma'am. She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
All right. How old is this baby?
She's 4.
All right. What was she wearing?
She has on pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had me in pink beads. She had braids.
Is she black, white, or Hispanic?
She's mixed.
Okay. How long ago?
To be honest with you, Mom did a good job of faking it. That's the one thing I can tell. She, to me, with a naked ear, she sounds nervous. She sounds concerned. She sounds urgent. She's exhibiting some of the signs that we in the true crime community would like to see, and to hear how convincing she is on the phone. She does sound nervous. She sounds concerned. She sounds urgent. These are all the things you want to hear in a mom that's missing a child. So I just want to point this out. So starting out with this case, she's already hitting it out of the park. And this is so important because many of our parents that do these types of things to their children are very, very, very convincing. Look at Daniel Martel. Very convincing man. And that's in the Lily and Jack Sullivan case. If you guys haven't checked that out, we do have a playlist. Go check Lily and Jack Sullivan out. It's a crazy case. Mom disappeared literally the day after she reported her kids missing. She's very, very rarely been seen. She's definitely has not been publicly advocating for her children. You have the stepdad that's a drug addict that was absolutely advocating for the children, and it makes you wonder why in absence of the mother. And even after the mother left the next day and he had to handle all the media, he still wouldn't throw her under the bus. And it makes me feel because he's responsible. So, very convincing. These people can be very conniving, very cunning, and very convincing. And I think it's important to notate that because what I'm hearing here would make me go, oh my gosh, she's lost her child, right? Listen to her. I want to go back. I want you guys to listen to her voice. She sounds shaky. She sounds everything we need her to sound. It's very, very important that you understand how conniving and cunning these people can be.
Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had me in pink beads. She had braids.
Is she black, white, or Hispanic?
She's mixed.
Okay. How long ago did you see her, ma'am? When was the last time you saw her?
I just came out here like no less than 20 or 30 minutes ago. I went in the house.
So 20 or 30 minutes. That for us in true crime community is a delayed response, a delayed call. A lot of people don't realize that, but when you have a 4-year-old autistic child in a surrounded area, parents typically don't search for the children. They call law enforcement. They may search around the house real quick, like 2 or 5 minutes, but the next minute they're on the phone with 911. They'll cancel the call if they don't need them. This is what I consider 20, 30 minutes before reporting a child that's 4 years old that should be in the front yard and is not. That's what we consider a red flag. So I would have already flagged this because of this delayed call. She's saying 20 or 30 minutes. Nobody waits 20 or 30 minutes to call 911 over their missing 4-year-old child. Okay? I don't know if you know, but if you guys would like to, let's have some silence. I just want you to feel what 20 minutes or what 20 seconds feels like. Because I think 20 seconds will do everything that I need it to do. So timer. Let's do a minute. Let me go down here. Let's do a minute. We'll do a minute. We'll do 60 seconds because I think that this will be good. 60 seconds is what we're going to do. Let's do silence. Let's do silence. And I want you guys to think of, close your eyes, look at your house. You probably have a much bigger house than this lady. She was kind of in a manufactured home or trailer, so much smaller, so maybe 1,200 square feet. So I want you guys to all close your eyes. I'm going to turn this timer on, and in 1 cool minute, I want you to describe you going through your house and searching your house for a child in this minute and see how far you can logically get in your mind. Close your eyes, folks. Close your eyes. This is a test. All right, we are on go. Close your eyes. Now, I want you to methodically walk through your house searching for a child. You're walking through it. You're looking at the mudroom. You're looking at the hall closet. Open the closet. Make sure she's not hiding in there. Call her out. Go into the kitchen. Is she in the kitchen? Go down the hall. Go to the bathroom. Is she in the bathroom? How about in one of the bedrooms? Let's walk through, let's walk down and see if she's in the bedroom. Meanwhile, we're all calling her name. We're all calling her name as we're walking through our house. So we've just looked at the living room. We just looked at the kitchen. She's not there. We looked in the bathroom. We're going down to the bedroom. We're looking in the bedroom. Now we're going across the hall to the other bedroom to see if she's in there, right? Now we're going to be looking out the door, calling her name. Let's go through the house. Let's go through the back door. Let's holler her name outside. Holler, holler, holler. Javeayah. There you go. There you go. There you go. That was only 60 seconds, folks.
I cooked dinner, and I told her it's time to come in.
That was only 60 seconds. Not me. I'd be calling right away. Everybody would. Because you know your child should be somewhere and your child's not. But we were able to methodically walk through our 1,200 square foot home and go from the living room to the kitchen to the bathroom to at least 2 bedrooms and to the back door before our alarm got off. And that, I was walking through my own home when I was talking to you guys about that. I was walking through my own home and how long it would take me to go through here. Now, this is at a casual pace, not running around the house like many parents would be doing if they had a missing child, right? You're ripping shit up. You're running through, trying to find your child. Like, this can't be happening. This is not happening, right? So this woman is having all of the things that we look for in a mom: shaky voice, urgency, concern. And then you hit the first red flag. The first red flag that I would have picked up on this would have been the 20 to 30 minutes delay called, is what I call a delay call. And so they delayed calling 911 20 to 30 minutes. That's never a good sign.
And once it started getting dark, and when I came out here, I
Okay,
can't
okay.
find her.
Just take a breath for me, okay? I already have him on the way to you, okay? Do you know where she might be heading? Okay, you have any family or friends that live around the area?
No, but
No
she
family or
usually
friends.
try to chase our chickens to catch them, and I just...
No family or friends. This is going to be very important, because how were they able to get away with her missing for so long? Because they moved in the middle of nowhere away from all of their family. So this tells me that they have most likely a domestic violence household. That means that her and her man, the guy that's the father of this child, most likely beat the shit out of each other. Okay? So I'm just going to throw this out there, because these are all the indicators we're seeing and hearing just in this little bit of, we're only a minute and 13 seconds in. And trust me, we can derive a lot of stuff. Now, granted, this is after the fact. You know, when it was happening, would we have picked up on it? We would have picked up on the 20 to 30 minutes. I can promise you that. But the rest of this stuff, would we have picked up on? Maybe not.
I've been looking through the woods to try to see if I see her, but I don't see her nowhere.
I've been looking through the woods and I don't see her. Anybody's going to analyze those woods. She's got a 4-year-old child. They've been living in that house for a little bit. I'm almost positive that her child's too scared to go in those woods. I am almost confident that she knows her child's too scared to go into those woods. And so that would have been the second red flag that I heard in this 911 call. The first one being 20 to 30 minutes before calling 911, searching for her, and now going into the woods to search for the child before calling law enforcement. So I'm pointing these out. It's after the fact, but I think it's important for you to know what I look for and what I hear whenever I'm analyzing these 911 calls. Now, the other thing you're going to be listening for is also standard operating stuff, past tense language, right? Past tense language.
What's your name?
My name is Micheline Harris.
What's her name?
Javeayah Harris.
Harris? I couldn't hear the first name.
Javeayah is spelled Javeayah. And I wasn't out here. I'm 39 weeks pregnant. I can't keep up with her like that.
So that is it. She hasn't had the babies yet. That's what I think is triggering this. This is what the Real Me Too had indicated to us about the case, is that the reason why she believes that they decided to report Javeayah missing now is because she's about to have children. That means the family, this distant family that they haven't seen, that they don't live around, is all going to be coming in to see the babies. And what's the first thing everybody's going to be asking? Where's Javeayah? Where's Javeayah? Where's Javeayah? I believe that's the reason why Jacqueline and Trezell West called Classic and Sincere in, Orrin and Orson West in as missing, is because even though they adopted them from the foster care system for profit, because in California, if you adopt a child that you're fostering, you get all this extra financial incentive, which causes reckless and disgusting parents to adopt children that they don't want for money and then abuse them. That's what that kind of stuff creates, but people, whatever. At the end of the day, it was getting close to Christmas and the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the family, their biological family, like the grandparents and stuff, can petition the Department of Children and Family Services for visitation for holidays, so they can maintain a relationship with those children, because they're not being taken from them. They were taken from the parents and given to the foster care system. So I think that they knew that there was going to be family that wanted to see Orrin and Orson West for the holidays, and they couldn't produce those children. So I think it was becoming, because those children were also kids that disappeared for months before they were reported actually missing. And the reason why they were reported missing is they were reported missing right around the holidays. Why? Because the family was going to be petitioning to see those children, and they could not produce those children. So she's 39 weeks pregnant. She's about to give birth. She's about to have the entire family in the hospital room wanting to know where Javeayah Harris is. And she's not going to be able to produce that child. Lo and behold, now they call in the 911. We don't know these things at the time. If we were to hear this in real time, we wouldn't have known this at the time. So I would have been saying, okay, some of these things in her statement don't sound good, right? But they're not, I'm not looking at them wholeheartedly just yet. But when we circle back to this and we heard that 20 or 30 minutes and her going into the woods, we would have started realizing how manipulative she is. She's good. I can tell you, out of the 911 calls that we've heard over the years, this is good. She did good. Like, I can usually tell, like, oh, this is bullshit. But I'm listening to this with a critical ear, and she's good. The shaky voice, I mean, she's got, this is a very highly manipulating woman here. She did a very good job here.
Okay. And what? Anybody else out there with her? Like, that was out there with her? Any friends, kids playing with her?
The way our yard is set up, it's nothing but the dogs and the chickens right here at the back.
All right. Does she have any health issues? Any mental issues? Anything like that?
They suspect that she was autistic, but she's just now turning 4, so they don't have no diagnosis.
So she's not even diagnosed. So now you have a 4-year-old child that's not even speaking. I want to put this in perspective, because we were told that this child was an autistic child that was nonverbal. That's a diagnosis. Okay? That is a diagnosis. Now we're hearing no diagnoses, and they believe she's autistic at 4 years old. If she's not speaking, there's a reason why she's not speaking. They either know why she's not speaking or they don't know why she's not speaking. But at 4 years old, she should, if she's not speaking, she should have a diagnosis. No? So what is this telling us just in this little aspect right here? Yep. Good catch. Just in this aspect right here. What do you hear? You hear that the child has some developmental and or mental issues that have gone undiagnosed. They haven't been diagnosed. Why would they not be diagnosed? That tells you almost she's not going to a doctor regularly. Does it not? 4 years old? Raise your hand if you believe by 4 years old a doctor should be able to know whether a child is autistic or on the spectrum or not. Raise your hand. Because many of our parents in here realized their child was autistic shortly after being vaxxed by their doctor. I had one person tell me that they had their child was bright, lively, everything. Goes in, gets the injection, not the vax, the 19 vax. I'm talking about the baby vaxes. And literally, as that injection hit that blood, they said the child blinked, and it's like everything just left. The child was blank. No more smiling, no more bubbliness, no more anything. They knew right then and there something happened, and they knew exactly what it was. So I like to bring that up every now and again, because that's a testimony from a real person. And it makes you wonder, most children, like even Sebastian Rogers was diagnosed with that chromosome deletion syndrome fairly early. I mean, he wasn't sleeping at night. So there are indicators there long before this that should, I mean, just in my opinion, should have, you know, I don't know, autistic. It just seems like we should have a diagnosis at 4 years old. Yes, they know in mom's belly. My sister's a doc. Not for autism, because most of the autism, in all fairness, is from the childhood vaccines. They put way too many of them. When we were growing up, I think we had 12 vaccines, something like that, something small. They're now pumping like 50 something different types of crap into your baby. Like, I don't know what knucklehead said, oh, this is a great idea. But hey, you know what? I mean, I guess I'm one of the smartest stupid people in the world, because I can honestly tell you, common sense would tell me that that's not a good combination. Mixing a whole bunch of shit together and throwing it in a baby. But hey, who am I? No autism. Yeah. Well, they believe that our vaccinations also are what create our allergies, like the peanut allergy and everything like that. They believe that's from the vaccinations too. I mean, this is, do your own research. Obviously, we're not giving medical advice or interpreting medical stuff at all. I'm just telling you what I've read, what I've read and heard. So I'm very interested in finding out how true some of this stuff is. But anyways, let's get back on here. She's very good.
Got away.
Okay.
She's very smart, though. She don't seem autistic.
Does she talk?
Yeah. She can carry a full conversation.
Oh. Weren't we told that she was nonverbal? Wow. She just said, yeah, she can carry on a full conversation. So how did the nonverbal happen? If she can carry on a full conversation. So they didn't have an autistic child and they still ended up murdering her? Oh, good God.
Okay, you didn't see any vehicles before you went inside or anything like that?
No, but what worries me
I believe
these
it.
crackheads that walk in his house behind the house. I don't know.
Oh, so now she's bringing up Plan B, the sea heads behind the house that walk through.
I've always felt weird about them, and I don't know.
So she's literally blaming some degenerates. Likely excuse. Good God. This is like the opposite of like Susan Smith. Like, just... It's the sea heads for her.
Hello?
I'm still here, ma'am. Give me just a second.
My call might be breaking up because of where we at.
Okay. What's a good call?
She's very, very good. Do you guys hear how much work she's putting into all this?
Back number for you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I don't have one. My phone is not on, but I can still call 911.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'm on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And
okay.
She asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark? And I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
Okay, is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day. And I just looked in here, and she's not in here.
Okay.
This is not this lady's first time having to lie. To lie about something, or otherwise she's going to get in a lot of trouble. She is very, very good. I'm sorry, you just can't fake this kind of good. I mean, she's got the shaky voice, she's got the tone, and I'm hearing she might be the one that her she's the reason why Javeayah's not here. That's what I'm hearing. And here she is. I don't know. I think I don't know. This child could communicate and like to play with the chickens. Doesn't sound autistic at all. It surely doesn't, Lori, does it? It surely does not sound like this child's autistic. Before his autism was out of control, he would punch people like me in the butt so hard. My best friend in his privates. Now the kid is a big boy, thick and strong. This year he's really grown up. Yeah, there's I feel bad. Some of these parents that have autistic, especially the ones that don't communicate, they get frustrated and they get because they can't communicate, they use their hands and aggression. And I saw this mom, this big boy, and this mom, and he's got her by the hair, and she's just calm down. I understand. Let's not do that. You can hurt me. Let's move. And she just kept a very calm tone and just tried to soothe him and calm him down. I can't, that's got to be hard on parents. They love their children so much, and it's got to be hard. And then you have people like this, where they're using autism as a crutch when their child most likely isn't autistic. They're just bad parents that never nurtured their child, and their child, because of the fact that the failure of nurturing that child, is now behind in school because it takes parents teaching their child. It takes teachers teaching the child. It takes constant oversight on a child. Like, why do I have such a great dog? Because I'm always around her. So she knows when I say no. She knows exactly what this means. She doesn't need to be physically disciplined because I've been disciplining her with words and actions this entire time. So she's a very good dog, sometimes.
Is there any bodies of water nearby?
I don't know, ma'am. Me and my husband just now purchasing this house. I don't know about this area much, but it's not a good area. I'll tell you that. It's not good.
I don't know what she was talking about. The area when I was going out there looked like any rural area I've ever been in.
Okay, you say you searched the woods. Is that behind your house?
Yes, it's like a pathway right behind my house. And we usually take the dog sometimes in the woods to just let them run. And she'll come, so I know she knows about the woods. And but I look down the same pathway that we walk, and I do not see her.
Okay, and you said she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. Anything else you may be wearing?
Her beads are pink.
Beats are pink?
Yeah, she's got braids. I mean, I don't know if she got on Crocs or with shoes, because she just puts on play shoes, but I don't, ma'am, it's not no way that she could have got far.
All right. Do you have any neighbors around the area that you're familiar with she might be going to?
No, we don't talk to none of these people.
So, hearing that they don't communicate with their neighbors, I would have probably started raising this whole conversation here, even though it's very, very good. I would be questioning the crap out of whether she's legitimate or not legitimate and just misspoke in a couple areas. And I would probably be giving a lot of weight because she is very good. She's hitting all of what we would like to hear in. Now, there were some mistakes and missteps. She did do a reference, but just because you use past tense one time doesn't necessarily indicate that you're being deceptive. Sometimes you misspeak. So we have to take into consideration natural language as well. But there are a few things in here that would have perked our curiosity just a little bit. And the most prominent so far has been the delayed 911 call, the 20-30 minutes. Nobody waits that long with a 4-year-old kid, especially with what she's describing. She's saying, oh, this is not a good area. We have sea heads that are behind the house. You're not waiting 20 or 30 minutes to call for your child. Your mind's going to naturally go straight to, oh my God, did one of those a-holes get my kid? And you're going to immediately call in. Okay, so what she's describing and her delayed response does not coincide. So I think that we would have picked that up, whether or not we would have tried, to be honest with you, I would have probably put a believable, we better show some grace in this case and step back just a little bit and make sure we have all of our facts because of that 911 call. We now know that the mom's involved because the mom's arrested and in jail. So we can now analyze it a little critically. I don't like doing it backwards because I feel like we lose our initial, interpretation of it because we already know the outcome. So the parents have confessed. The warrant shows the 911 call has been released. We just went over the 911 call. Like I said, Javeayah's mom is very, very good, very, very cunning, conniving, and clever in how she reported her child missing. She was convincing. Okay? I'm not sure law enforcement would have immediately thought she had anything to do with it. So there is the mom and the father. I did not, with the 911 call here, it did not move me to believe that they did something to their daughter. However, the man, when he spoke to the news, within 2 seconds of him opening his mouth, I knew. Her, on the other hand, not so much. We did see some red flags, but nothing that's, pump the brakes, sister. Okay, with him, it was. I knew immediately the minute he opened his mouth, his daughter was dead. So I still don't know who's responsible. People are saying that the mom may have confessed to all of this. Let me see if it says it in this article. That the mom may have confessed, but warrants issued released Monday say both parents of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris showed extreme indifference to human life in connection with the child's death, contradicting the account given in the 911 call made by the girl's mother last week. Michelle, or I can't pronounce her name, Herring called Aiken County 911 just before 9 p.m. 9 p.m. What child is going to be outside at 9 p.m.? A 4-year-old child. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. That child's not going to be out there. That tells me that she waited. They're calling this in at 9. She was most likely missing by 7, according to the father's statement, because he had just left at 6:45 to go get cookies and whatever. And you're telling me that the call came in at 9 p.m.? That call should have been coming in at 7:15, no later than 8 p.m. So even according to their own statement, they waited hours before even making the 911 call. So I just thought I'd point that out. Tuesday, telling the dispatch her daughter had been playing outside and vanished. Nobody's going to have their 4-year-old child in the middle of the country out at 8 o'clock at night. They're going to be inside. One, because of the freaking bugs. Okay, I don't know if you guys been out in South Carolina in the middle of summer in the heat. Guys, I'm going to tell you, you got mosquitoes the size of my car. Okay? You feel like you're in Alaska in South Carolina in the summer. You got bugs. You got just, it's, and they're not just bugs. They're biting bugs. They're bugs that make you uncomfortable and give you red bumps all over your body. Okay? Those types of bugs. She's very smart. She can carry on a full conversation, according to her mom, but we were reported that this child was a nonverbal child. The arrest warrant states that both parents failed to seek medical attention for Javeayah after suffering an injury from physical abuse at the hands of Herring. So that's mom. The warrant identifies the second suspect as the girl's father. Both parents have been arrested. So they are basically pointing to the pregnant mom as being the abuser of this child. So pregnant mom unalived her kid. Both parents are denied bond in the death of their child. They have not found Javeayah. They have not found Javeayah. So they are doing airboat searches and everything else.
Breaking news tonight in the search for Javeayah Harris, the 4-year-old girl out of Aiken County whose disappearance has made national headlines. Arrest warrants show that her parents confessed. Investigators saying that she was killed, and now they're searching waterways for her remains. Deputies say the search is now focused near Debutary Creek along the Fairfield County line after this case shifted from a missing child investigation to a homicide case. Javeayah was reported missing June 30th from a home in Aiken County, sparking days of massive searches. But investigators say that evidence shows that she had already been dead for about a month at the time of that call. Her father, Javeayah Harris, and her mother, Michelle Herring, both charged
Miss Chalet. Okay, we did
With
have it right.
homicide by child abuse, Herring also faces a charge of filing a false police report. Now, search efforts are focusing on Fairfield County. Our Derek Rush is there and shares the newest developments.
I want to make sure that people understand moms can be violent. I hear so many times that people think that the man usually is the one that injures these children. I can tell you that in a lot of the cases that we cover, look at Jaden Spicer, was his mom. I believe that who harmed Sebastian Rogers is his mom. Summer Wells was under the care of her mom. There's a lot of cases that we have over and over again. Lots of moms in jail right now for murdering their children. So I want to make sure that you guys, Michelet, thank you. Thank you, Animal Mother. I don't want you to discredit, because we've got a lot of moms in our chat, and I know that the moms we have in our chat wouldn't hurt a hair. I mean, they're ready to kill their child at a drop of a dime, but they wouldn't hurt a hair on their head. You guys know what I mean by that. You guys know exactly what I mean by that, right? Because we all want to kill them, right? So let me just put the laughy thing, because it is satire, because we always want to kill our kids, but we would never hurt a hair on their head. You know what I'm saying? And so I know that the moms in my chat, in a lot of cases, want to lean toward the man, because in many instances, especially when we talk about family stuff on these channels, we talk about missing women a lot too, and missing women and, you know, the abusive domestic violence situations that they're in. You know, Gabby Petito, which gave me my name. We've covered Kathleen Moore. We've covered Crystal Rogers, Caitlin Harp. I mean, these are all women that lost their lives from domestic violence. So, you know, I think we're preconceived, or our brains are in a pattern of where we think men are the most violent. And in many cases, they're bigger, they have more muscle, and they can, in fact, be more violent. But I think it takes away from the momsters. Yes, I think it takes away from the momsters. I think that we need to remember that moms can be just as lethal as men, as grown men. And it's hard because, again, we have such wonderful, beautiful moms in our chat, and they're saying there's no way I would hurt a hair on my child's head, right? And what kind of mother could give birth to a child and then hurt that child? Hold that child in your womb for 9 months. You know, connect with that child on a level that nobody can quite comprehend. Give birth to that child and then filicide that child. We're starting to see more of a pattern as we experience and go through this, you know, America, right? I truly believe we need to teach self-control. I think there needs to be self-control and anger management in our schools, teaching our children growing up. I think that a lot of this stuff, because to be honest with you, we were taught that in our school. You know, we didn't have a class, but we had very strict teachers. You didn't do your homework? No, you're not getting it. You're not getting a safe space and a coloring book and extra time. You're getting a big fat 0. The only way you're going to be able to pass this class is if you do extra credit. So I would suggest you start figuring out what you want to do for extra credit if you plan on passing this class. We were provided a path forward, but we were also provided consequences. And it's very, very strong consequences, ones that could flunk us out of class. We were not given all these opportunities that they are given to these children today, and that has really changed our dynamic in our workforce. People think that they have a right to tell their boss, oh my gosh, I'm just having a bad day. I need the day off. What? No, come here, pack up your desk, and since you need to have a day off, go ahead and take the rest of the year off. You're fired. That's the consequences we had with that safe space and coloring books when I was growing up. When I was getting into the world, we did what our bosses told us. Our bosses didn't do what we told them. So I feel like there's been this whole shift in dynamic and young people getting angry and violent, and it's because nobody is teaching them consequences to their actions. They just keep getting passed on and never held accountable. If you want something, you act like a freaking deranged lunatic and they give you what you want. Well, what's that teaching people? Act like a deranged lunatic if you want to get what you want. That's not the kind of stuff that we want. But I digress. That's getting on a soapbox. At the end of the day, we've got parents that obviously were responsible for this child's death. They have been locked up and they have been denied bond. What happened to this child? You know, everything that the mom is indicating, not, you know, moving into a place that they have no family, no friends, not communicating with any neighbors. They were all beating the shit out of each other. You cannot convince me that that man and that woman were not beating each other. You're not going to, when you start isolating yourself like that and you've got a dead child, there's a whole bunch of violence all around that house. Okay? There's a whole bunch of violence all around that house. And we know that to be true even in Summer Wells' case. So mom once said, I brought you into this world I can take you out of. Yeah, it must have been a 70s thing. You know what? You're right. That's exactly what all of our parents said to us. But again, you know, that was the iron fist, you know, generation that we were from. We're from the I don't give a boo about you attitude. That's our generation, right? And then you look at this new generation and it's all about everybody else. It's like you sold your soul to the devil. You're worried more about strangers that could give two craps about you than you are about being happy yourself. That's the generation. Now we got a whole bunch of anxious and people that are so anxiety-ridden young folks. They have no outlet. It's insane.
Well, we were able to find SLED's chopper flight pattern for their search efforts here over Fairfield County, just off of Debutary Creek access. Now we are learning from DNR that they have had dive teams and boats within the water around this area searching for 4-year-old Javeayah's body as this investigation becomes more urgent and more heartbreaking. Investigators now saying that this search has turned into a homicide investigation. For days, the public was shaken over 4-year-old Javeayah Harris, who was initially deemed missing.
When she popped up missing close to my house, I was like, we got to do something.
And I just want to remind you, this is the place that Michelle, whatever her name is, mom said that this is a bad area, that these people are bad people. And look at all these beautiful people coming out for a perfect stranger. Crying, feeling emotional for this child. And I will tell you that those emotions, I know people wonder, are they legitimate? I can tell you they're real. These people, every time I go out to these events, the people that are drawn into these cases, they're drawn into these cases for a variety of reasons. Something just hits them on an emotional level that makes them look at this child as their own. You know, look at this child as a family member, learn about this child, and it breaks their heart that this child didn't even have a chance. It's one of the most emotional things that I think, and you feel the emotion from everybody. If you are out there in the field, boots on the ground, and you are not moved, you are not almost brought to tears, it almost makes me wonder, are you even human? Because there's so much emotion. And this lady, you feel that almost coming through it. She didn't know this kid. She just knew that there was a child missing that was near her, and she probably just thought about her own damn children and said, I'm going to help. You know, if this was my kid, I definitely would like somebody to help me, right? That's how it works.
Now conducting air and water search efforts in Fairfield County in what they say is an area believed to be connected to the case. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division and Department of Natural Resource gathering information, while Aiken County Sheriff's Office says Harris's parents confessed that their child was actually dead nearly a month earlier as a result of abuse from her mother.
So now we have 3 children. Or I think she's 39 weeks pregnant, but for whatever reason, I keep thinking she's pregnant with twins. And I don't know where I heard that, but I could be wrong. She may not be pregnant with twins. But either way, you know, her daughter's gone. Her daughter's gone for forever, and she's pregnant with babies. She's losing those children. She's never going to be able to, after birthing those children, she's done. Like, she's just now, this mom has now lost all of her kids. I can't imagine ever putting myself in a position where my children are no longer with me. No longer with me at all. Oh, I screwed up a whole bunch of these things. Hold on, I got everything about out of place here.
Search that brought together several communities and several law enforcement agencies is now a homicide investigation with that child's own parents at the center of it. I'm Siobhan Bryan with WBTV. Here's what we know about the case of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. It all started when the girl's mother made this 911 call last week.
Oh my God.
I'm on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark, and I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
But now the Aiken County Sheriff says that's false. Over the weekend, officials announced that little Javeayah was dead a month earlier as a result of abuse from her own mother.
Her own mother. Her own mother. We've already seen this one, so we've learned as much as we're going to learn on that one. Let me see. I think we got 2 more. We're done, and then we're going to be going over. So we're going to be wrapping up Javeayah Harris, folks. We're going to be wrapping up Javeayah Harris. If you have any questions related to this, now would be a great time to start plugging those into the chat so we can investigate your questions that you have before we move over to Lynette Hooker. 55-year-old mom fell overboard and swept out to sea and never seen again. We want to give you guys updates on that case too. So if you guys got questions about Javeayah Harris, now's the time to start dropping those into the chat.
As we bring you breaking news on this Tuesday out of Aiken County, where officers are back out of the home of Javeayah Harris. This is a live look now at her home on Hillsborough Street. Officers out there in force, searching the home, searching the woods behind it.
It was 1 week ago tonight that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris was reported missing by her mother. After a 3-day search by several agencies, her parents, Javeayah Harris and Michaela Herring, were arrested and charged with homicide by child abuse. The little girl's body has not yet been found. We do have a crew there working to get more information, so stay tuned to News Channel 6 for more on this developing story.
So this goes to Michelle, or not Michelle, who was it? Maury. This goes to you. Why don't the parents give authorities where her body is? Well, I think that's why they went to behind the house. Okay, you can see that they live in a trailer, and we're just reporting on this one where they are now behind the house. If you guys heard the other reporting, they were in the waterways and other areas because I don't think the parents were cooperating with telling them where the body is, or, you know, playing games with them and finally admitting it, but still playing games of them being able to find her. And I think now that they're in the woods behind the house, that somebody has leaked where they ultimately put this child. Do you think the pandemic changed everyone's I do think the pandemic did screw some people up mentally. I think not only that, but I also believe that the shot did as well, because there was a lot of people that talked about forgetfulness very, very much, especially in the older 65-year and older, because I hang around a lot of older people. And they were talking about how they've noticed their forgetfulness, that they've noticed a major change. I know my mom was talking about having a metallic taste in her mouth for like ever. There were, I think there was a lot of stuff, but the isolation does a number for you. And I know that from personal experience, just over me and some of the stuff that I've dealt with over the last 3 years of basically, you know, hiding myself away. You know, you guys know I was always out there, at every freaking event I could be at, running a live stream no matter where I was. We were always live, always live, always live. Well, you know, after being stalked by Queen Bee's channel, physically stalked, even going to court hearings that had to deal with my divorce and stuff like that. It was just insanity what these people were putting me through. So I literally, you know, bringing my phone in the middle of the night, I had to change my phone, so I cut everybody off. I have a small list of people that can even call me. Everybody else I don't even see anymore. And you know, I know that what I've personally gone through with the isolation, is not healthy. And I'm trying now to, kind of correct some of that stuff by getting out and being more involved back, getting things back the way they were before all of this mental health issues. I mean, when you're being stalked, it does do something to your psyche. It does do something to your brain. It does make you paranoid. It does, you're in a constant state of fear, and that's never good. So with that, I think that does embody that, because during the pandemic, we were in fear, and they made us angry and hate each other. Who was wearing a mask? Who wasn't wearing a mask? Oh my gosh, the people that refused to wear a mask, you're murderers. How dare you murder us? And people were really looking at people like they were homicidal maniacs for not putting a mask on, and they wanted to hurt them for not putting a mask on. Like, yeah, that's mental. That's mental to me. Did that change everybody's mental health? Yeah, I do believe that it was part of, because you know what? We've noticed, and I always talk about the dog, and everybody hates it. They're like, we're not freaking animals. The hell we ain't. We are an animal. We are a Homo sapien. We are, part of the Homo sapien population, where we have what is it, a mammal, right? We're mammals. We have live birth, we have hair. What is also a mammal? What is also a mammal? Oh, a dog's a mammal. A lion's a mammal. Oh, okay, a panther's a mammal. So don't tell me we're not an animal. We are absolutely an animal. We might be on the top of the food chain as an animal, but we are absolutely an animal. We're a civilized animal. So don't ever take that, don't ever think that we're not. But at the end of the day, our mental acuity, I think, we kind of got rabid, if so to speak. Because one thing I noticed is about, and you guys can find offense to it if you so choose, whatever, you can find offense to whatever you need to. But when you have a dog chained up and isolated, what happens to that dog? That dog becomes very violent. Does it not? Very violent. So when you take a human, another animal, and you cage them in their own home, what do you think is going to happen? They're online getting angry and mean. When we came out of the pandemic, we had insane people that lost their ever-loving stuff, people that were sweet, ginger librarians, now want to take a bat and knock your freaking head off. So, yeah, did it cause some problems? I think that's a good probability on that. We here in Florida were a little different. We were free to do whatever we wanted to do here. But, again, we're talking about isolation. And I can tell you, I have isolated myself for 2.5 years because with the whole Queen Bee stalking and then, Jonathan and Magnolia and all of that going on. And, my relationship with Jonathan, obviously, he mind fucked the shit out of me. He wasn't violent. So that's why I never got on board with all that beating and violence and stuff like that. Did he do it? Did he not do it? All I can tell you is I'm not the most easy person to live with, and he never put a hand on me. That's all I can tell you. Okay? But I was going through all of that, and I just said, the hell with it. I'll do my job. I'll stay here at the house. I isolated. And I can tell you that probably wasn't the best strategy for me, because even trying to get out, you're now so comfortable in being isolated. Being around people is being like a fish out of water. So did it? Yeah, I think it did. People want to assault me for being a supporter. Yeah, I mean that we went through all of that as well. So did it? Yeah. You know what? I think that it did complicate things. I think it did cause a lot of maybe there was people on the edge of mental illness, but it definitely pushed people over the edge. I definitely believe it, because the reason why I'm getting out of the house and I'm being more involved is because I can see the negative impacts it has had on my personal life. But sometimes you just got to crawl under a rock and lick your wounds for a little bit and then pop out. But you don't want to stay under that rock too long, because the longer you stay, the harder it is to climb back out. I'm just saying.
You may remember that over the weekend, this search moved deeper into South Carolina, Fairfield County to be specific, where the mom of Javeayah Harris is from, and they searched an area there along with the help of local law enforcement. Now, back out in Aiken County at her home searching that property. Aiken County Sheriff's Office investigators telling News Channel 6 they can't confirm why they're out there, just that it is part of this ongoing investigation. And so
I think they leaked. I think they told them if they kept her on the property, they're not going to be driving around with her with all that wooded area. They're going to take her out back and find a place. Remember, it's been a month, so you're not going to have the type of ground that you would have if it was fresh. It's no longer fresh. She's been buried a month. This lady has no excuse to harm her child. Her man had a job. They had a place to live. I know, absolutely. But getting back to Pretty Little Clues, where's Nancy's 911 audio? That's a great question. Where's Lynette Hooker's? I mean, these are three these cases. The thing that these three cases have in common is the fact that they are all presumed dead, and none of them have been found. And I think this is going to be interesting because even with no body cases, people are charged with crimes, except in Tennessee. So I think it's also important. Hey, Candace, it's nice to see you. Good morning, love bug. I hope you're doing well. I know. Well, just say I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a bright day today. A bright day. So that's kind of where we are. And I think I got one more little, and I think we've already done this one. So that's kind of really it. All we have right now on Javeayah Harris. Javeayah Harris, 4-year-old little precious baby girl. Obviously came from a very violent home. And her mom was very violent and ultimately took her life. Now, the mom and her husband are in jail for homicide of this beautiful little girl that we heard was autistic and nonverbal. And we're finding out that she's carrying on conversations. It doesn't sound like she was autistic at all. It sounds like she had a terrible mom and terrible dad. That's what she has. And now that mother is pregnant, and we're going to be taking care of other children because that mom cannot have a child in jail. So she just lost her other child or children. There's no winners here. There's no winners here. So we hope that the babies that are babies that are born when mom finally gives birth go to great homes that love them and show them a lot more love than their little sister, their older sister got. All right, guys, we're going to be switching gears. I know that this case, I was only going to spend 20 minutes on Javeayah Harris. We've spent well over an hour on Javeayah Harris. So good news is that Lynette Hooker's case doesn't have that many updates in it, but we did want to, still advocate for Lynette because Lynette still has not been found. She has not been brought home or anything like that. Thank you, BHB, hanging in there. Love ya. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yes, investigators have recovered human remains. Oh, we got some breaking news. Bad news just says yes, investigators recovered. Let's see if we got some breaking news. Hold on here. Let me go to X. I don't think this is the first I'm hearing they found remains. Hold on, guys. We might just be staying on Javeayah just a little bit longer. Give me just a second. Let me pull this back. Okay, I do have it pulled back. Give me just a second. Let me see what we got here, Javeayah. Okay. Harris. Memorial outside. I'm not seeing. Hold on. Let me see. This is from 47 minutes ago. Let's see what this says. Search for remains of Javeayah intensifies an Aiken County home investigation. Let me pull this up. This is already rolling. Let's see what this has to say here. We got a 55-second little update here. Let's see what they have to say. I'm not saying that they found the remains. That was from 47 minutes ago.
It was today in Aiken County at the home of the missing 4-year-old girl, Javeayah Harris. The coroner joined the Aiken County Sheriff's Office as deputies searched around the Harris home and the woods behind it.
And this is all part of an effort to recover Javeayah's remains after arrest warrants showed that her mother confessed to disposing of her body. Now, her mother and her father have been charged with homicide by child abuse. They are being held without bond.
When Fox 54 arrived at the scene today, investigators were seen handling brown paper bags of evidence, 55-gallon drums, and even tarps. They loaded all of the evidence into a trailer on the property.
Now, community support, as you see here, has remained strong for Javeayah in this Aiken County community. Many people have brought balloons, flowers, stuffed animals, and much more to a...
Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think I spelled her name right. Let's see. Javeayah Harris found. Let me see if I got any stuff over here. Hold on a second. Let's see if we got anything on the X. Bad news. I don't know where you heard that from, but usually it's reported on X before anything else, and I'm not seeing it even reported on X. And we just pulled a video from 47 minutes ago. Breaking news. That's from me. Searching the home of the little girls. The 30s are seen taking burn barrels, praying they find her. So I'm not seeing any place that we have the remains of her being found just yet. If you do have some information, bad news about that, please send that to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I was hopeful that we had some breaking news, but it doesn't look like that is the breaking news that we do have. It sounds like Javeayah has not yet been found. And again, a very, very, very sad case. Very, very, very sad case of a little 4-year-old girl that had domestic violence in her home, and she ultimately lost her life. It said they did, but now it says no. Sorry for the no worries, bad news. We appreciate it. We like breaking news, so that's why when it comes in, we look into it. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you keeping us on top of things. It's no worries. I'm confident that it sounds like the parents are at least cooperating at this point. The gig is up. The child's dead. They've confessed to the crime. Now it's just bringing her home and finding out what happened. I think what we're going to ultimately find when we do find her body is that she has multiple injuries in different stages of healing. That's what I presume will happen. I don't think we're going to be looking at for a body at all. She's been gone for a month. We're looking at remains. So what do those remains have to say? We don't know. And seeing burn barrels and stuff like that, it does not make me feel very, very good, especially out there in the middle of nowhere where you have seclusion. It seems like that's the reason why they like this area anyways, is because of the level of seclusion. All right, guys. Well, I thank you for letting me bend your ear on an important case like Javeayah Harris. Now we're going to go over to the case about Lynette Hooker. Lynette Hooker, right behind my head here. She's a 55-year-old, beautiful lady, 55-year-old mom from Michigan. She decided to sell everything that she had when she retired with her husband in 2023, and they embarked on this life at sea dream she had of sailing the world on a sailboat, a yacht. And she finally her and her husband finally put together a plan to achieve that bucket list item for themselves. And in 2023, they set out to live abroad on water. Within 6 months of them being on the water, Miss Lynette came back. She wanted a divorce from Brian. She didn't want any more information or anything with him. She was 50 years old. She was retired. She had a large nest egg, and they were on the water, and they were starting to fight really, really bad, to the point where she ended up wanting a divorce, leaving him, and while he was helping her get her stuff on the dock so she could go to her mom's house, he reminded her that he wishes he would have finished the job and thrown her overboard. Then a year later, she's overboard after them drinking for an entire day. They've never found her body, and many people believe his story is garbage. We believe he's lied about everything related to this evening. Everything was normal and customary until they left the bar to head back to the yacht. I believe that they went back to the yacht, but like past dictates future, they were out drinking all day, and in their history, the motive is when they get drunk, they get physical with one another. And so in 2015, Lynette ended up going to jail because her and Brian got in a fight. He convinced the people she was the aggravator. And then he's probably held that over her head ever since and basically said, if you don't take it, I'm going to throw you in jail again. I'm absolutely confident he's done that to her for years. And now they're on the boat. They have too much closeness. They are fighting. He's being physically abusive in the small quarters. She has no place to run. She has no place to get away. Even on that yacht, it's too small. And again, her own statements, too much closeness. Well, a year later, they're coming back from an Abaco Inn after drinking all day, which again, drinking is key, that we're going to be going back to the boat and beating the crap out of each other. And so they get back, I believe, to the boat, and it went too far. And I believe Brian ultimately murdered his wife and decided to conceal the crime. So the Coast Guard now has his boat. The Miss Lynette has never been found. They are building a case against Brian. They believe that this is a homicide investigation, but they are treating this as a death investigation for the time being until they make the leap. Where is the forensics? We don't know. So let's go ahead and get updated on some information with this. This just came out about a month ago, and this is the recent update. Sorry.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's talk this through. This boat undergone testing already. Why do you think it's been sent to the Coast Guard station in Fort Lauderdale? We know it's been moved around quite a bit. Our Brian Enton has done some excellent reporting on the movements of it. So now it's in Fort Lauderdale. What happens next, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I think that they're making it very clear that this is now a U.S. investigation, not a Bahamian investigation. And I think by moving it, they show that they have complete control over this investigation. And I think what they're doing is, arguably, I assume looking for DNA, potentially blood, any evidence of a struggle that may have occurred on that boat.
And I want to remind you again, Open Mind, and it's the same thing that goes back to the whole Luke Daly thing, is the forensics take forever. And this case came 2 months after Nancy Guthrie's case. So if we don't have the forensics back in Nancy Guthrie's case, what makes you think that we're going to have the forensics back in Lynette Hooker's case that was, 2 months after Miss Guthrie's? Just a little food for thought.
Brian to being responsible for the death of his wife.
Some are speculating this is a murder case at this point. Do you agree with what we know so far? And what can you tell us about how the case is unfolded in your view? Because I know with your view with the job that you've had, you might see it differently than others. How do you see this playing out?
So I know there's a lot of people theorizing that he's about to be arrested, and I'm kind of more suspect in regards to that. Right now, the only
I have stated that we're on arrest watch, and I have stated that we're one test result away from his arrest, and I'm still going to stand behind that. However long the test takes is however long the arrest takes. But this is a federal investigation, not a state or local investigation. So again, it comes back to the premise that we're talking about the ransom notes, Open Mind, in stating that they're going to have this case almost 90% solved and trial ready before they ever put the handcuffs on Brian Hooker or whoever is responsible, which is most likely Brian Hooker. Is evidence getting collected off the boat gate being sent to Quantico? That they have their own. This is where it gets a little hinky, open-minded. I did look into that early on in the case because I wanted to know, because we know that the Coast Guard is an investigative body like the FBI, and there's been a lot of people interchanging them, calling it the feds when they're a federal department, but they're the Coast Guard. They're not the Fed. They're not the FBI. So they have their own labs. But again, their labs might not be as technically inclined as Quantico. So they still may use Quantico labs. But it is my understanding that the Coast Guards, the Coast Guard investigative department has their own like laboratories and forensic stuff that they contract with. But in all fairness, I do believe there is a portion of this going to Quantico, because I did ask, is it possible that the evidence collected from the Coast Guard could go to the feds in Quantico, and they said yes. So I do believe, the Coast Guard is the investigative body, not the FBI. But I've been hearing some articles that are saying FBI, and it's like the FBI is not investigating this case. It is the Coast Guard, but they are and will and can use the FBI's facilities in Quantico. And they said that they do frequently use the labs that the FBI has around the country, not just in Quantico. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but great question. I thought it deserved some clarification.
The thing we know is that some of the statements he made were inconsistent in regards to where the body was, where they had been boating and where he was. And so the question becomes are those inconsistencies in and of themselves enough to prove that Brian is responsible for her death beyond reasonable doubt? I think it's a little premature for us to assume that's the case. I think the U.S. government is doing their job, which they should be, is attempting to locate her body. If they're able to find her body, what is the cause of death? Because remember, that's probably the biggest issue that we'd be dealing with. But I think it's a bit premature for people to assume that because they are investigating this as a possible homicide case, that means that Brian Hooker is going to be arrested and charged with murder.
I believe he will eventually be arrested in murder, and we still have a poll going right now, or not a poll, but like a, I don't know what it would call, but I've been saying that from the beginning, because we had the Nancy Guthrie case, and then we had the Lynette Hooker case, and I said I believe that and I was even bringing in Sebastian Rogers' case into it, and I said, out of all these cases, I believe Lynette Hooker's case is going to have an arrest before any of these other cases because of the details of the case. And I still believe that, even though it's coming a little bit later than I would like. But I do know that this is going to be a forensic case, and the forensics take frickin' forever. That's why when somebody was asking me, why aren't we getting any more updates on Lynette Hooker? I'm like, because they were at a hurry up and wait, which is basically where we're getting in the Nancy Guthrie case. We're getting into the point in the Nancy Guthrie case that we're not going to have any talking points to talk about, because we've been keeping the case alive on all of these different various talking points, and there's no new information coming out. There's no new things that we can really discuss or dive into that we haven't already discussed and dived into already. Now, if there's something probative that changes something, then yeah, we have some more talking points, but we're getting to the point where we are with Lynette Hooker's case, where there's nothing left to talk about in the case. We've covered every aspect of the case and what it could possibly mean and potentially mean. And if she's been murdered, there's only one possible suspect in her case, and it's her husband, because that's the only person she was with in the middle of nowhere. So those things are going to be a little more difficult to process, with the forensics, but I truly believe we're one test result away from an arrest, and that has been my assessment for several months now.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. And a source told News Nation that Brian Hooker's story didn't add up with the GPS data that was gathered by investigators. And of course, so often when we're talking about possible crime scenes, we always talk about DNA and blood, to your point. But, there's also this other intelligence that's being gathered as well, and the GPS tracking. So that's something that's being looked at. And also, we had on last night on Jesse Weber's show, one of Lynette Hooker's neighbors who has cameras, and she was talking about, this family was talking about movements that they saw the couple around the house before this trip took place. And now the FBI is involved. So there's a lot of moving parts.
See, they keep saying now the FBI is involved. It's the Coast Guard. So I think it's very important that we know that the Coast Guard is the one handling the investigation. I know they keep saying the FBI. They may be a resource, they may not, but at the end of the day, it's the Coast Guard that's investigating this case. They are equipped to run these investigations. They are the elite people, the maritime people from maritime crime to be running the investigation. The FBI is land investigations. Coast Guard is more sea investigations. But at the end of the day, I think we need to clarify, because it's annoying. It's annoying It's annoying Ashley Banfield, and it's starting to annoy me because it annoys Ashley Banfield. She's like, it's not the freaking feds, it's the Coast Guard. So we want to make sure we stay with that. It's not the freaking feds, it's the Coast Guard, right? My friend just dropped me off a chicken bacon ranch pizza she makes for the ball. Oh, that's nice. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's time for you to share. That sounds good. Chicken bacon. I do chicken bacon ranch. Not FBI, Coast Guard in Florida is investigating Hooker's case. They're on it. Exactly. Ding, 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 ding. So this is, I know we've seen this before, but might as well see it again. This is on the Mother's Day, May 9th is when they captured the boat. Brian Hooker, the audacity of that piece of garbage, decides to get a captain and a mate to bring his sailboat back to the States. And they choose Mother's Day weekend to make and embark on this trip. Mother's Day weekend. Like, how slimy can you be? Like, just pure slimy, you know? But I digress. You know what? The Coast Guard was on it. They don't take Mother's Day off either, right? So they saw the boat moving and they said, not so fast. Not so fast, buddy. Not so fast. Turn your engine off. We're coming to get you. We're coming to get you. And they seized the boat. They said, you're not tampering with any more evidence on this sucker. We're taking hold of it, and they took it back to Fort Pierce where we went.
Captain, how many people on board? How many people on board? Okay, any weapons on board? Okay, do not reach for them. All right. Nobody down below?
Nobody's down below.
No weapons? All right. You guys headed to St. Augustine?
No, we're heading up to Fernandina Beach.
Okay.
Moving it for the owner.
Yeah. Is he going to meet you there?
I don't think so, no.
So right now the boat's being seized?
Oh.
Right now the boat's being seized? What did he say? He said, oh shit, and it cut. Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, you're being seized. Why are you being seized? Why are you being seized? Because there's something ain't right.
From the Bahamas, our CBS News team got an exclusive look today as the Coast Guard seized a small vessel, the boat at the center of that ongoing investigation into a Michigan woman missing since early April. Our Christian Benavides is in the Bahamas with the update.
Good evening, Tony. 2 months since the investigation started, the U.S. Coast Guard is taking custody of the dinghy that...
There's the dinghy. They took custody of the dinghy. Now, what kind of evidence could the dinghy hold? Well, here's the issue, okay? We've learned that your body starts providing the scent of decomp within the first 3 hours, about 3 hours or so into your death, okay? Your body starts breaking down. It produces a scent that dogs can pick up on. Now, if we look at the timeline of all these weird things that happen that we can prove factually, such as the witnesses that identified the horizontal flare shot, the flare pistol. That flare went horizontally, not up in the air. I believe that flare was being used as a weapon or for defense. So I know that at 8 o'clock is when an altercation must have been taking place on the boat because of the flare pistol fire. The witnesses seeing the flare being shot off horizontally instead of vertically into the air. And so I believe that. And we also have the splash at 9:30, which I believe is when the body is being introduced in the water, either being dropped in the water like a cooler or being dropped in the water on the what? Dinghy, because they had a dinghy hoist in the back that drops their dinghy down. And people described at 9:30 this deep, heavy splash in the water as if something heavy is going into the water. It was described at 9:30. A lot of things happened at 9:30. That's when the satellites were physically turned off on the boat at 9:30, shortly before the deep splash into the water. So we do have all of these indicators here that don't look good. They don't look good for Lynette or Brian Hooker. They actually spell out that most likely something bad happened on that boat and Brian tried to conceal it. He ended up being arrested on suspicion of homicide. He was let go out of the Bahamian jail after 5 days. They were able to hold him an extended amount of time while they searched for this poor lady's body. Her body's never been found, so she's sunk or buried. I believe she's sunk because we're learning that the islands, under that sand about a foot down, it's like a hard rock or coral that's under that sand. So it's almost impenetrating. You can't penetrate through it without having certain equipment to do so. So I don't think he's going to have all that equipment out there that night that he decides to disappear off his boat. There's no way it would have taken 9 hours to go from one side to the other. Why didn't he go back to the bar and beg for somebody to call law enforcement for help? Why didn't he go over to his boat where he had the radio? He could have of SOS. There was just so many things that don't make sense to this case. But coming back to the dinghy, what evidence could be on the dinghy? It's the breakdown of her body, because if you look at the timing of this case from 8 to 9:30, that's only an hour and a half. If he put her on that dinghy and it took him another hour or an hour and a half to get to where he was loading her, that dinghy would have the scent of decomp on it. And that's what one of many forensic telltale signs of what may have happened. So them having this dinghy as well as their yacht, they're going to be able to piece together very well what happened. And I think they're going to be able to prove it forensically. So we are one test result away from Brian Hooker being thrown in jail for homicide against his wife. I truly believe it. Now, what degree of homicide? It depends on what's found on the computers, right? If he's been planning this, then it's going to be first degree. If they all got drunk and just had another blowout, fight like they normally do, well, then he's probably going to be charged with second degree. I don't even think that they'll be able to charge him with first degree homicide unless they find her body, because I think no matter what, where we stand right now without the body, we're at a second degree homicide at best.
Brian and Lynette Hooker were on the night she disappeared. Hooker said he and his wife were traveling back to their sailboat when she fell out of the dinghy in rough seas. She hasn't been seen since, and her disappearance is being investigated as a possible murder. The vessel will now be brought back to the U.S. for processing. Investigators will look for any forensic evidence, blood, hair, or any indentations that could indicate a struggle. Brian Hooker maintains his innocence.
So that was kind of the update that we need. Coast Guard has custody of the dinghy in the disappearance of missing mom. We've got Matt Lauer.
Sources say show the moment that the U.S. Coast Guard seized a boat while searching for that missing American wife. The husband says she was swept away. Here's Victor Akendo.
And I don't believe she was swept away. I believe he threw her away. Now, this is one of, I don't even think this was the most, I guess it was a one that's recent within the last week. A friend of Lynette's compares this case to Gabby Petito, which you guys know, Bullhorn Betty was birthed from the Gabby Petito case. I was out there with a bullhorn and nobody knew my name, so they just called me Bullhorn Betty. And that name ended up sticking. If you guys know, when I was covering Gabby Petito, I was on TikTok. I did not have a YouTube channel at the time. And my TikTok was under my personal name at the time. And all of that has been changed since November of 2021. And that's when we designed our first logo under Bullhorn Betty. So if you guys are curious about the history of Bullhorn Betty, we're kind of circling right on back to the beginning when we start talking about Gabby Petito.
Uncovering government secrets that they don't.
methodically tracking every single new piece of this puzzle, and there is a lot. Dissecting the evidence for her audience. Ashley, welcome to The Truth of the Matter. It's so good to see you.
Hey, Hannah, good to see you too. How you doing?
I'm great, better now. I do want to start from the very beginning because there's so much interest in this case. Walk us through the moment that shifted from a tragic accident to a federal murder investigation. What was the tipping point for authorities?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I think it was day one. I mean, the problem for the Americans has been that the jurisdiction was the Bahamas, right? And so this was really in the hands of the Royal Bahamian Police Force in the beginning. And, it took them a couple of days, but they locked him up. And they expired the amount of time they could keep him based on the amount of evidence that they had retrieved from this very unlikely story. And let me just be frank, on my podcast, I usually drop a lot of F-bombs based on his story because it is so absurd.
We do too. We do too. I just want to let you know we're not the only professional, non-professional show on the YouTube channel that cusses. Okay, we have a mouth of a sailor on this channel. It drives me nuts, but it is what it is. It drives me nuts because I know it drives some other people nuts. But it doesn't change the fact I still cuss. But his story is horse crap. Okay, we all know it's manure. It doesn't make sense. I think now that we have the charts don't bode with his story. The evidence doesn't bode with his story, but nothing is really connecting him to where Lynette is or her body. I really, truly believe he was clever. If I got out there, I bet you I could kind of put together what may have happened based on where they were in the water and the timing he had. I want to go to the Bahamas. I know I'm never going to make it out there to cover this case. I should have done that months ago if I was going to do it. But I sure would love to get a personal lay of the land. I get so much information when I look at something for itself. Like even Elena Moore. It's so easy to blame her husband for what happened. And while I do believe he is a rotten apple and there are some marital issues that are very highly, highly, highly concerning, I just can't make the leap on how he was able to kill her without leaving a mark on her. Okay? That doesn't make sense. That tells me that there's something more to this. Medical, drug overdose, suicide, self-harm, those types of things are affiliated or potentially associated with that case. Now, could it be because of the relationship she had with Brandon Slice? Yeah, it could be. I'm not saying anything. But this could also be a lady that was losing her stuff either because she was drugged unbeknownst to her or she had mental health concerns and she was walking all the way around this whole entire place in the dead of day and night. It was hot. It was hot and I didn't see her with any type of hydration for hours. So is it possible that it is just like a heat stroke? Something on the lines of that. We have to look at all possibilities when it comes to Elena Moore. In this case here, this is a pretty cut and dry case for many of us. We see through the holes in the case. We see this case very, very clearly. We've heard this song and dance before. We understand domestic violence because we've covered a lot of it on these channels, especially on the Bullhorn Betty channel. We've covered a lot of domestic violence cases, and I've talked about some of those cases. I mean, even Summer Wells cases. We talked about the abuse that Dawn and Candace were doing to each other. We even got audios of their fights. We talked to them about they were having fist fights out in the freaking front driveway in front of the children. That was a violent household. Gabby Petito, Angela Moore, or Kathleen Moore rather. We got Caitlin Harp. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on about the domestic violence. Crystal Rogers that we've covered on this channel. So we're very familiar with domestic violence and the nuances of it. I think we may not be expert level. We're damn close to expert level when it comes to domestic violence. And this right here is having all the hallmarks of a domestic violence homicide. And that's what we, in my opinion, we have when it comes to the Lynette Hooker case. And it does parrot so much with Gabby Petito. The difference is they were on land and the Hookers were on sea. The things didn't change. They were still in close quarters. They were still beating the crap out of each other. Difference is Gabby and Brian didn't drink alcohol. The catalyst to Lynette and Brian Hooker's case is the alcohol. So just to throw things out, Brian Laundrie had a horrible attitude. He was messed up in the head a little bit, and he was violent and controlling. Brian Hooker, same thing. One was on the water, one was on land. Still both Brians, and still both of their wives and girlfriends still dead. So that's where we're at. Does anybody have any questions related to Lynette Hooker's case that we could answer? I'm going to give you guys just a few moments to put that in the chat. I will be right back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. All right, we're back. Let me see what kind of questions we have, and then we'll... Oh, let me put my green screen back on. Sorry about that. Hit the like button. Thank you, Stacks. Appreciate it. The Boss Bish, it's nice to see you back. Had to go fix a couple of sausage biscuits. What do we got here? What? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, looks like the neighbor is going to the tag office. That's what that was about. I think we have everything related to Lynette Hooker. Does anybody else have any other questions about Lynette Hooker that we could answer before we move on to Miss Nancy Guthrie? If you guys are just coming in, thank you for being here. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We've been covering the case of Javeayah Harris, Lynette Hooker, and of course Nancy Guthrie in this segment. Javeayah Harris, a 4-year-old child that we were told was autistic and nonverbal, ends up being a normal kid that can speak. She's deceased. Her parents are arrested. Her parents are in jail without bond, and they are right now trying to search for her remains. They know that she's been gone for about a month now, and that she was put somewhere. They were looking in the sea or in the rivers and streams, and now it looks like they have changed their search to the backwoods behind the family home. We've got Lynette Hooker. We just went over her case. She's a 55-year-old Michigan mom that set sail with her husband in 2023 for this bucket list lifestyle of living on the sea, traveling the world on a yacht. And of course, there was domestic violence in the relationship before they got on the boat, and it exacerbated the issue once they were in the close quarters. And now we have a missing wife, 3 years later, 2.5 years later from when they first embarked on this journey. Very, very sad. And now we're moving over to a well-known case of Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old grandmother, ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman. We have no idea who the masked gunman is. We have no idea what kind of car he was driving. We have no idea whether proper forensics were done. We can conclude that they probably weren't. This case is a hot mess express. It was botched from the beginning. It was a botched investigation. Many people are starting to believe it was a botched burglary. I'm starting to lean for the botched burglary, which I was never even a part of, but it was because we didn't realize that the assailant was there on the 11th, and not just there on the 11th, but there on the 11th with burglary tools, a tool bag to break into somebody's home. However, he came back 20 days later with a backpack full of something to go inside that home and rip this poor lady out of her bed. Now the question is why? We are at the why factor of this case. Why are we here with Miss Nancy Guthrie? Why are we here with Miss Nancy Guthrie? We truly don't know. But here are the details in the Nancy Guthrie case. She went over to her daughter's house around 5:32 on January 31st, just days after her 84th birthday, to have dinner and play games with the family and just have some family time. Annie Guthrie, Tommaso, and their child are the only, biological family, immediate family that Miss Guthrie has in the area. She had 3 children. Her son, Cameron, lives in Vermont, and her daughter, well-known, famous daughter, Savannah Guthrie, lives in New York. So the only sibling of the 3 that still stayed behind to take care of mom and live her normal life like everybody else was Annie Guthrie. So the immediate attention went on Annie and her husband as being possible perpetrators because they were, in all intents and purposes, not as well known as the fighter pilot's son and the famous Emmy Award-winning journalist's daughter. She was kind of, the unknown, so to speak, in the family, and she was the one that was more salt of the earth, more hippie, more, kumbaya. You have them on their phone more than you will have them, whatever. They just seem very salt of the earth, hipsters, hippies type of lifestyle. That's what I see when I see Annie and Tommaso, just kind of like the alternative, lifestyle, right? Not the alternative like that. I guess alternative this day and age, could mean multiple things. I'm 46, so I'm talking about our, what we considered alternative lifestyle back when we were kids. And it just basically means that you're like a hippie, whatever. So anyways, getting back to this case, we have Miss Savannah Guthrie here, and she went back to work on the Today Show, and a lot of fans, we were kind of upset with her for a variety of issues. We're not going to rehash everything, but we were ourselves upset with Miss Savannah over her mom's case, not providing flyers, trying to arrest the YouTubers and going back to work early. And then we're starting to realize that her company is really trying to make her have a nervous breakdown. It's really, really sad what they're doing to try to push her out the door when she only has a little bit more of a contract. It's looking really terrible for NBC, in my opinion. I think this is what we expected from a news organization. We're getting that from a news organization. But at the end of the day, we still don't know where Miss Nancy Guthrie is. What are the updates? We have been covering this case from the beginning, and it's kind of gone all over the place. Like, I'm so exhausted from the up and down of the case. It's exhausting, right? Nobody knows what the hell's going on in this case, and it's so scary for me to be here 5 months and nobody have any kind of cohesive angle to go after. Right? In this case, we've got nothing, it seems like. We got everybody saying, oh, we got something, but when push comes to shove, we realize nobody's got squat. Nobody has squat. Who is this man at this lady's front door? Who is this man? We went over this case. We went over a lot of different things. I actually have my notes from February 17th, when we did the show. I have my notes from the 17th, and this was no CODIS hit for the glove inside the home, or inside the home. There's multiple points of DNA that were collected. We keep forgetting about that. But 4 major stories here is the DNA testing update, signal sniffer technology, and the family has been cleared. Glove evidence, Florida lab delay, and genetic genealogy. We haven't even gotten into the genetic genealogy aspect of it yet because we're still waiting for the evidence, the testing to come back with results. We can't forget the gun shops. The FBI went around the gun shops, over and over around the gun shops, 40-person list. They had 40 photos in their hand of people. 40 that went to those gun shops. And then, of course, major announcement, investigation shifts, and we're really focusing on these ransom note developments. Now, the ransom note developments have come, they've lost their luster, they've circled back, they gained some more traction, they've lost their luster. Now we're hearing that there might be at least a couple. We're not even sure if it's the first 2 that they're referring to because they never specified that. But we know that there's at least a couple email ransom notes that were received that could, and I stress that very strongly, could possibly be legitimate. And I'm still gonna stick on my guns that no, these ransom notes are not legitimate. I just don't believe them. Everything that I've learned about ransom notes covering this case, people don't want law enforcement involved, and then to send a ransom note after the case is already at a high-profile case just doesn't make any damn sense. So I'm not playing the game with these other retired law enforcement. I'm just not doing it. I don't believe it. I'm not going to say I believe it. I've entertained it. I've looked down it. There's only one tidbit of information that could possibly be in those ransom notes that would ever make me even remotely believe that they're legitimate. And I've told you guys that. I'll tell you guys again, it comes down to the clothing. If they're referring to the clothing she wore over at Annie and Tommaso's house, then you've got my attention. Anything short of that, I don't have time for it, and I'm surprised that we do. We went over a lot of information last night. If you guys were not part of the show last night, I hope you guys go back and look at it because we were talking about, what we could have learned more and sooner. And we go over a lot of things that should have been explored but weren't explored enough, such as the exact chain of custody and forensic flow for the blood evidence and porch evidence. That was never fully transparent. We're not asking for investigative secrets and tips and things that go to the integrity of the investigation. We're simply asking for, chain of custody information. Are these things being followed? Because right now, it doesn't appear that they're being followed, especially in light that we had the FBI there, yet they opened the crime scene up before the FBI even had an opportunity to preview the crime scene. How does that make sense? The precise technical basis for distinguishing genuine ransom notes from the rest. Nobody has ever explained to us what the technical basis is. Why? That doesn't go to the integrity of the investigation. That goes to their whether they know what the hell they're doing or not. The possibility of coordinated hoax plus real crime combination was mentioned indirectly but not deeply unpacked in public reporting. What have not been explored enough in this case? What has not been explored enough in this case? The chain of custody, which we've already talked about, that has not been explored. The genuineness of these ransom notes, like I said, all the other information, and what should law enforcement have hammered sooner? The neighborhood-wide canvas and doorbell. I think everybody complained when we heard this initially out the gate when Chris Nanos was in the neighborhood. One, we didn't care for his leadership. He had his search radius entirely too small. You have properties that have 1 acre sites and you only had a boundary of 2 miles. That was stupid. Okay, if you don't know if that's stupid, let me just tell you that was stupid. That radius should have been, that boundary should at least been at minimum 5 miles. At minimum. They screwed up this case. They botched this case from the very beginning. So tighter public explanation on time gap between garage closing and the camera's disconnect. What happened during that time? What do they know happened during that time? When do they believe that this assailant came on that property? Why was that assailant on the property on the 11th? Why did he look like he had burglary tools on the 11th, but came back with a full backpack for something else on the 31st into the 1st? That's what I'd like to know. Because I'm starting to see this botched burglary, but I don't believe it was on the 31st into the morning of the 1st. I believe the botched burglary happened on the 11th. I believe that this guy came there to burglarize that house. He had his burglary tools. And everybody's like, well, what would he have taken the stolen items out in? A freaking a pillowcase. A pillowcase from a bed. That's what they would pack with stuff. He didn't need a backpack. Any decent burglar would know to use resources in the house. They would have taken the freaking the pillowcase and started filling that up with stuff. But he had a burglary kit with him. It was in that satchel or that toolbox that was observed in his hand on the 11th. So I believe he was in the house. I believed he realized the little old lady was sleeping there, and I believe he exited that house on the 11th and came back with a completely different thing in mind for this lady. That's what I think. So I can kind of see the theory of the botched burglary. But I think we're confused. I don't think the burglary was happening that night. I think what he was coming back for that night, he accomplished. I think the botched burglary was on the 11th. I think he got in that house and he realized the little old lady was in bed. But she didn't have her hearing aids in, she didn't have her glasses on, and she probably didn't even know he was standing over her. Now, that's all speculative. There's no factual evidence other than seeing a masked gunman on the outside of her home with a tool pouch. Faster clarification on the ransom communications, what were genuine, what were not. Here's the one that I have the most problem with, and it's the release of the route map, likely showing the approach and the escape corridors around the home. They never showed us those. And if they can't show us those, then nobody was out there advocating for people to turn over video evidence. And remember, law enforcement out there likes to turn their cameras off because they don't like chasing criminals. They like keeping law-abiding citizens in peril and in harm, you know, to get yanked out of their freaking bed in the middle of the night. That's the Pima County, Arizona way, don't you know? So that's kind of our round out today in the three cases of these beautiful people, these beautiful ladies, one little girl, all presumed dead and still all missing. One we have been following for 5 months. One we have been following for, is it 3 months now? April? Yeah, 3 months. And one we have just been following for a couple weeks. 3 cases, all presumed dead, and all still missing. These 3 cases have not gotten to the area of justice yet. We would love to see justice come for these cases. We're going to be focusing predominantly this afternoon on the first 60 days, this evening rather, on the first 60 days of Nancy Guthrie's existence, case existence, when after she disappeared. We're focusing on the first 60 days because the first 60 days, I believe, is when the most important questions were answered or missed. I believe we missed a lot. I believe we missed a lot because we relied too much on a competent law enforcement body. And now we have an incompetent law enforcement body handling this case, and we've got all these types of fighting but amongst the investigators, and it's really, really causing major problems in this case of Nancy Guthrie. So it's one of those things where we just want to advocate for this poor, beautiful lady and just beg anybody from Arizona that might have seen her, that might know somebody, that might know the masked gunman, that might know the details of the case, please come forward. Please, please, please come forward. We all have Nancy Guthrie fatigue. We all just want to know what happened to this beautiful grandmother. And we just want to get some closure for the family. And not only the family, the world, right? The world stopped for Miss Guthrie. The world stopped for Miss Guthrie. And we need to take note of that, whether we agree with it or disagree with it. The world did stop for Miss Nancy Guthrie, and we need to find out what happened to this poor little grandmother. So if you guys know anything or have any information on any of the 3 cases debuted this morning on the Bullhorn Betty channel, please reach out to law enforcement in your prospective area if you have information. If you know Javeayah Harris or her parents, please call into law enforcement and tell them of any of your experiences you've had, even if you're not directly connected with this case. That can really help advance a case, at least show a pattern of behavior or something. This little girl, she has not been found. I believe she is going to be found in this next week. I have this gut feeling. If not today, I feel like by this weekend, we're going to have her brought home. We're going to know what happened to her. She's going to be going to the coroner's office medical examiner for processing, I truly believe. Now, she has not been found yet, but I think they're getting really close, and it sounds like the parents are cooperating, and it's good. I mean, sometimes people lose their cool. They do something that they didn't intend to do, whether we agree with it or not. You know, the violence, you guys know how I feel about that. But once you kind of go too far, and you go too far, and the gig's up, sometimes it's just the survival, you still not wanting to take responsibility, so you're trying to be helpful so you can have leniency. I think that's where we're at. I think both the mom and the dad, and especially the dad might be, if the dad didn't do anything to this child and the mom did, then the dad's probably, he's going to be trying to save his own neck, He's going to be trying to save his own neck, and vice versa. If he's the one that did this, then she's going to be trying to save her own neck. So if he didn't do it, see, in people's minds, they think if they just stand around and don't intervene, that they're not held accountable, that they don't have to, call. It doesn't matter. You as an adult see a child, and I just want to put this out there for everybody. You as an adult, if you see a child being abused and you do not intervene, you're just as culpable as that person abusing that child. I just want to make sure that everybody is hyper aware of the law. I don't care if you're a stranger to that family. If you see a child being abused and you walk by and mind your own business, you're culpable for that child abuse. I just want to put it out there like that. Because in the way the law is written, that's the way the law is written. You're an adult. You're an adult that could have intervened. If you're walking down the sidewalk and you see a child being physically abused and you do not intervene, you're just as culpable. Yeah, do they go after strangers walking by, not doing anything? Of course not, but could they? They absolutely could. The law is crystal clear. You are an adult. You are watching a child be abused. You have a duty to intervene in that child. So I truly believe that the way some of these laws are written in these states, a stranger walking by somebody being abused, they could actually be thrown in jail right along with the person abusing that child, the way the law is written. The way the law is written. So I'm not sure how it's written here in Florida, but I remember I was looking at it, and I was looking, I can't remember what state I was looking at, and I was looking at the child, how the neglect and physical abuse aspect was, and it said adult. It didn't say guardian. It didn't say, parent, biological. It didn't say that. It was prefaced on an adult over the age of 18. Okay. Well, if you're a stranger and over the age of 18 and you're seeing a person being abused, you meet that criteria, in my opinion. So, why are we not saying anything about that? A car might be a huge clue. We see a car summary. I think we've all seen it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Let me get some of this gunk out of here. Give me just a second. Let me clear up my, I think we're done with most of this stuff. Let's kind of dive into a little more with that. Why are they saying that? Okay, so let's look at the car. We do have a car that was observed, at least we think what we're seeing. in the photos, like when you're looking at sizes and stuff like that, it works. It hits all of, here it is, ginger bean, there it is. It hits all of the right stuff. There it is. If you look at the rock size, you look at the plant size, everything is perfectly measured out for this to be a legitimate car, not a shadow. Not a shadow, a car. Based on the height of the bushes, the rocks, everything, this is a car. This is a vehicle. This is a vehicle parked out in her driveway almost to the road. Okay? Way out there. You see this little blue, this is where the car is in this photo. And this is the blow up of this blue arrow right here. Right here is where the car is. It is in the driveway. This is catty corner. She has a loop driveway, and the camera's at an angle a little bit, and it's right in the angle. So I believe we have a car. My question is why is the FBI and Pima County refusing to identify the make and model? There's enough detail in this photo right here for them to provide us a make and model of this vehicle. They may not have the car color, but I absolutely believe that they have a make and model of vehicle. Hey, pretty little clues. Okay, send it to me. No, the car that zoomed by fast was a boxy car. I get it. This is not a boxy car. I think that what we saw zoom by was just a young kid probably coming from a bar going home, you know, for all we know. This is not a white boxy vehicle, but this is a vehicle in that driveway that's directly behind this assailant on this camera. So I want to know what the make and model of this is. And I want to know what car Luke Daly had access to during this time. What car does his mom drive? What car was he driving that he was using after he wrecked his Charger? bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Very easy. My name @gmail.com. bullhornbetty@gmail.com. So we absolutely, without a doubt, have a vehicle back here, and we have no information on escape routes. We have nobody from officially identifying the make and model of car that was used this evening. Don't you think that if somebody saw this man and they named the make and model of that car, that we would not have leads coming in specific to the suspect that was observed on the outside of this house? Yet they are withholding that. They're withholding that information for what purpose? For what purpose? Those are the questions we have. Those are the questions we're going to continue to have. That's why it's so important that we focus on the first 60 days of this case. The first 60 days are the most important. Yes, the first 48 hours are the most important. We know they botched it. We know they botched it. And we've got to go back. It's a Kia Soul. No, I know the car. I've seen the video. I've absolutely seen the video. I've seen the Kia Soul. Everybody's mistaken, okay? This is on a photo outside of the house with the masked gunman. Okay, somebody assuming that a car jetting by 2.5 miles away, yeah, it's okay for the time being, but now that we see a car behind him, we know that the car zooming by is not this vehicle. So we know that that cannot possibly be legitimate. I mean, it's a legitimate video of people moving about, but I don't think it's a legitimate escape route because we didn't observe this vehicle here on that escape route. This vehicle here needs to be observed on somebody's car or somebody's video. So if you have a video where you have a car that looks just like this, or a dark sedan, or a crossover or SUV, I'm interested in those. But this doesn't look boxy. This looks more aerodynamic to me. So I would like to see what kind of images we have with more aerodynamic cars around that area. And not only that, that white SUV, that Soul, there were other cars with that. I think everybody caught that because it was the brightest, but it wasn't the only vehicle. There were 12 vehicles that passed that camera. 12. Could one of them been this car or SUV? We need to look at all the escape routes. But how important would it have been if law enforcement had identified all the escape routes that they could have been and collected evidence from each and every one of those escape routes? I doubt they did that. Why? Because I have no confidence in Pima County. I have no confidence in Pima County, and the FBI was benched for the first 4 days. So they were already behind the gun. Chris Nanos, the criminal sheriff, intentionally and willfully sabotaged this case. Period. Now, he may not look at it like that because he may just look at it like a pissing contest with the FBI. This was somebody's life. The way I'm looking at it, the criminal sheriff didn't kill the subject 40 years ago, but he definitely killed this lady here. His lack of leadership lost this woman her life. We all watched it. We all know it. And then we have a board of cowards giving him an attaboy and a frickin' fat paycheck and a raise. That whole community needs a little Jesus from where I'm sitting. I'm just saying. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. It was great to see you. I'm glad we got to finally get on Javeayah Harris. We had been out there. We covered the case from boots on the ground. We couldn't get anywhere on that case. But we are definitely listening and tuning in. We'll give you guys up-to-date information as the information comes available. So it sounds like the next thing we're hopefully going to be getting news on is the recovery of her remains. So I'm going to be acutely listening acutely to all of the information coming out over the next few days and into the next week to see if we get remains. But I truly believe, I feel like they're getting very close to finding her, especially with the parents confessing. Now, I'm praying that they're not speaking to an attorney just yet, because as soon as if they have not found Javeayah before they speak to an attorney, the attorney's going to kibosh the entire investigation unless he's just trying to get them a plea deal, which, he might be telling them, look, you've already confessed. There's not going to be a whole lot we can do to walk that back. You might as well cooperate and get some leniency at this point. That might be a suggestion from the attorney, and I hope that it is. But again, you got to vehemently deny and fight as a defense attorney for these things. But if they've already confessed and they are already wanting to take responsibility for it because it's just been too hard for them to keep it in and stuff like that, then maybe they are just looking for leniency. It really does depend on the defendant, because sometimes the defendants know they did wrong and know that they're going to have to pay a consequence to it, and instead of fighting the courts, they just want to find the easiest path forward to possibly get them an opportunity at a life again. So we'll see what happens, but it's sad that people don't respect human life. It's sad that, daily we hear of children being abused and or killed at the hands of their parents or guardians. It is a hard pill to swallow for all of us, but out of all three cases, it's possible that all three of them may have had a family member do this to them. Even in Nancy Guthrie's case, because although the immediate family has been cleared, their extended family has not. And it seemed like somebody knew at least about Miss Guthrie's health. Could it be some distant family relative? Who knows? But we'll keep looking and keep trying to search for the answers and report all that back to you when we get them. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. God bless you. It's hump day, so now we're over the hump. By tomorrow, we're coming back, and we're going to be sliding right on into the weekend. As we prepare for the weekend, we will be getting you guys as much up-to-date content as possible. Tonight's show, I'm going to be setting up after this, is going to be about the first 60 days of Nancy Guthrie's case. So I'm going to use this opportunity to inform you on all these cases, and then we're going to start talking about specificity in certain cases for our evening show. Tonight is going to be a continuation of our conversation from last night. So if you guys are enjoying our 9 o'clock segments, please come back around 9 o'clock so we can have further discussions about the Nancy Guthrie case. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. God bless.